Hey everybody, welcome to my mains, methods, and goals video for 2025. I wanted to make this video just before Worlds so that I can sort of discuss my goals and then see how I do at Worlds. But this will also include goals for events that I'm not competing in at Worlds, and are also kind of just like general goals that I can realistically do at any other comp and not really be disappointed if I don't get it at Worlds. So let's not waste any time. So for 3x3, I use this for OH and 3 blind as well. This is the WRM V10, and it has maglev. A lot of people don't like the maglev version because they think it's too fast. But honestly, if you set it up well enough and you're not bad like me, it can be a very good, versatile cube. Honestly, I've seen people with tons and tons of different solving styles use this cube very well. You know, people who have very fast, spammy turn styles versus people with more slower, smoother turning. They both really like this cube. So the method I use is CFOP. Now, I actually don't know full OLL. Like, I don't know the dot cases, but I do know how to avoid dot OLLs, so I just do that instead. And I, of course, know full PLL. I currently average right at the 10-second mark, maybe a little above, maybe a little bit below, just kind of depends on the day. And my goal is to get a sub 10 average, probably by the end of the summer or the end of the year. If I don't get it at Worlds, I won't be super disappointed. And I would also like a sub 8 single, both of which I think are very much achievable in the near future. So moving on to 2x2, this is the GAN 251. I'm a big fan of this cube. Most people would agree that it's the best 2x2 on the market, and it is quite expensive, but honestly I think it's worth it. So the method I use is Ortega, but I have a bit more of a bias towards creating full layers rather than creating just a side. And my goal for 2x2, I really only have one goal, and that's a sub 3 average. My current PR average is 307, so I think that it's very much possible. And I should mention that for lube, I use FZ Rush and Calm for 2x2, and since I forgot to mention, for 3x3, I use both of those lubes as well as Mystic and Weight 5. So let's move on to 4x4. I use the Aosu, I think it's Aosu, V7. This is the double track version. I think most people agree that double track is actually superior to triple track, which is good because it's cheaper. And it comes with UV. The new 4x4s and 5x5s all have UV, which is nice. Some people don't like UV for some reason, but I really do, just because your hands don't really slip that much on it. And so for 4x4, I use Yao as my method. I don't really practice it as much as I do with like 5x5 or 6x6 or like the side events, but my goals are kind of just like get good PRs. Like, I don't really have much of a goal thought out. Moving on to 5x5, I use the Aochuan V6, I believe it is. This one is also double track, and instead of using Yao on 5x5, 6x6, and 7x7, I use Redux. And my goal, I think a good goal would be a sub 125 average. I think that's very doable since I actually global a bit better than that, a few seconds faster. Yeah, my current PRs aren't that great just because I haven't really had the opportunity to do 5x5 in comp all that much, and I've improved in 5x5 a lot since my last comp. So moving on to 6x6 and 7x7, I'm just going to do both of these at the same time because they're very similar. I use Redux as my method for both of these, and they're both the newest MoU 7x7s and 6x6s. So for lubes, I just use the FZ lubes similarly to 2x2, 3x3. 3x3 I add a few more, and then 4x4 and 5x5 I also just use FZ. And yeah, there's not really much to say. My goal for 7x7 really is to just like make cutoff in a comp because I don't have an official mean yet. And then other than that, I don't really care, honestly. All right, moving on to side events. Let's talk about Pyraminx. So I use the way long Pyraminx, the one with springs, not Maglev, because Maglev is just way too fast. I mean, even the one with springs is very fast. But yeah, so the method I use is intuitive L4E, so I don't know full L4E and I don't really care to learn. I global maybe around 6 seconds, and so I'd like to get a sub 6 average, and that's definitely doable for me. My current PR average I think is still 6 seconds, but like kind of closer to the 7-second border, so I would just like to have a good PR average on Pyraminx. And in terms of lube, I do use Mystic, like half a drop in each of the tips, and then some on the body as well as FZ lube. So for my Skube, I use the GAN Skube. I think this is the enhanced version. It doesn't have UV just because I didn't really want to pay extra for that because I don't really care about Skube. So for Skube, I don't know what method you'd want to call it. But I can just do like an example solve. I think it's kind of like the beginner method. So the first thing I do is I make a layer, and then I solve all of the corners. Then I solve the top edge, and I solve the other 3 to 4 edges. So yeah, with Skube, it's not really an event I care about that much, so I don't really have goals other than to just get PRs and improve my ranking. So moving on to Megaminx, this is another event I don't really care about. I use the Diane Megaminx Pro, and I don't know what you call the method I use, but it's kind of just the method everybody else uses, so I'm not really going to talk about it all that much. But yeah, so I swapped the gray for black. I know some people prefer to swap tan for black because sometimes tan looks a bit too much like white. But yeah, I don't really do Megaminx enough to really care about small differences like that. So there's not a whole lot to say. So let's move on to Square One. So Square One, I use the MGC Square One. I just have a random cube head sticker there. So the method I use is Vandenberg, which is where you do cube shape and then OBL and PBL, except I do OBL and PBL in multiple steps because I'm not learning hundreds of Alex just for Square One. I don't really have goals set in place, but my PRs don't really reflect how good I am at Squan. I average maybe around 14 or 15 seconds, I'm not entirely sure, but my PR average is 21 seconds, and so that's not very good, and I really want to improve that at Worlds. So for clock, this is sort of my main event. I use a hybridized 2023 batch black clock as well as a blue clock. So the method I use is 7 simul flip, and I may learn 7 simul in the future, I'm not sure. So my big goal for clock is Missouri state record for both single and average, but more particularly average. I haven't really done very well in comp at all since I got good at clock. But yeah, if I just go all out and don't DNF, then I think I can pretty easily get state record. So the last event I want to talk about is multi-blind. I've only ever competed in multi-blind once, and I got 1 out of 2. But the cubes I use are the WRM 2019. I like it just because it's a super quiet cube. And it serves pretty well, even though it's 6 years old. And then I also use the GTS 3, which is even older than the 2019. This one's a bit louder, but it holds up very well considering its age. And also, like these sort of like grooves on the outside are very good. I mean, especially for multi-blind, because I can more easily distinguish which cube is which, so that I don't like accidentally pick up the wrong cube. Now, when I'm doing 2 cubes, like I'm not going to pick up the wrong cube, but you know, in case I just accidentally pick the wrong one up, you know. They're also different sizes, which can maybe help with that. But yeah, I don't really have much of a goal other than to get 2 out of 2. I don't really care how long it takes as long as I get that. So yeah, I guess I should talk about my goals for OH and 3-blind. I should mention for 3-blind that I use full old Pacman. I don't know M2 yet, although I probably should learn. Yeah, so for OH, my goal is a sub 20 average, which is quite difficult, but I think is possible. And I don't really have much of a goal for single. And of course I use CFOP for OH. And then for 3 blind, I'd like to get an official mean, although that's not really much of a priority. I kind of just want to keep improving my single for right now. But yeah, I don't really have plans to learn like 4 or 5 blind or anything, or, you know, get super good at like quiet events. And then for FMC, I almost forgot about that. I don't really have any goals because I already have really, really good FMC results. Both my single and my mean are overall PB, which is really nice. I basically just use like a bit of EO and block building for FMC with a little bit of like inverse scramble shenanigans going on, but I don't use it that often, and I'm also not like super good at it. So yeah, thanks for watching. You know, let me know what your mains and methods and goals are if you feel like it. And yeah, make sure to like and subscribe and check back later.